Hi, and welcome to Mama Dance Moments. I'm Julie,
And I'm Stephanie.
and we are the better half of the watch.
Here we'll talk about real life, family, and commiserate a little on what it means to be a Coast Guard spouse. Thanks for joining us. What are we talking about today, Julie?
Today we are talking about dream sheets.
Ooh.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we should have like a song like "Dream On" playing in the background with us.
I don't know if we're allowed to play that.
Copyright, probably not, but it would be an appropriate song.
It is an appropriate song because, right, like dream on.
Yeah. They call it a dream sheet for a reason.
So you just filled out a dream sheet.
We did, and it's early transfer, so we don't have high hopes.
Sure. Well, I don't think any of us on regular transfer have high hopes.
No. So, our first dream sheet, we gave them 5 options, and they were like, we need more. So, we came back and gave them 13. Do you know what number we got?
Which one?
12.
That's crazy.
There was one worse than we were.
So which one did you get and which one was the one worse?
So, the one we got was actually Traverse City, Michigan.
Okay.
Which ended up being amazing. Traverse City is a beautiful place. It's amazing. The people are amazing. The area is gorgeous. It's like one of our favorite duty stations at this point.
Brilliant.
We were so glad that we went. The one that was below that, though, was Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know what? That may be somebody's treasure, right?
I know
Who
several
knows?
people who love Detroit.
That's
who
incredible.
do like it. So, and I will say Michigan gets a bad rap. And I think it's because of Detroit's reputation.
Sure.
But the state is a gorgeous state, and the people could not be nicer.
That's good to hear. All
Yes.
right. So if I see that ever on our shopping list.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny because, when we filled out our sheet, we were like, oh, we're just going to say in all South states, right?
Right.
Because, we had just bought a Mustang convertible. So,
Oh.
yeah. Rookie mistake. So, and we had put New Orleans on our list, right? And it was like number 3 for us.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened and it came available and they were like, well, do y'all want New Orleans? And by this time, I think we had traded in the Mustang.
Oh, no.
And we had already been made up our minds. We're just going to go to Traverse City. A lot of people had built it up that it's amazing. People love it. You're so lucky. So we were kind of like, no, we'll just stick with Traverse City. We'll pass. And that was when Katrina happened.
Oh, my gosh.
So
the timing.
Yeah, we would have been in New Orleans for Katrina if we had taken New Orleans.
Holy twist of fate.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry for the spouse that ended up having to go to New Orleans because
Yeah.
you guys chose Traverse City. So,
Yes.
so thank you for taking one for the team on that, whoever
Yeah,
you are out
sorry.
there.
But you know what? They may have gotten a ton of awards, and it might have been an amazing situation for them.
Yeah.
And it might have helped advance a career. So
That's exactly right. And you never know. I'm so glad you said that because that is an excellent point, Julie, that we never know why we are given the places. Like we as spouses never know
Right.
what the needs of the Coast Guard are, right? They
the
say the needs
needs.
of the Coast Guard.
the needs of the Coast Guard.
Your spouse is going to go, your member is going to go wherever the Coast Guard sends them, right? And we're
Right.
just sort of like
That makes no
tagging
sense,
along.
but why?
Right, hoping that there's a reason. And I think you could drive yourself crazy wondering what that reason is, but
Yeah.
I love to think of it that way, that there is a divine purpose. And I'm not even
yeah.
talking about religiously, just there is a cosmic reason that
I-
you are sent to that place.
Yeah, I always feel like there's a reason for everything. And
Yes.
I know sometimes people get tired of hearing that, but anytime I always try to find the lesson
Right.
in situations. Like, what am I supposed to learn, or what did I learn from that? Or
Right.
how can I learn something from this situation?
Exactly.
And so and I will say, Traverse City was an amazing situation, and the unit itself was a really great introduction to air station life for us.
Brilliant.
So that was where my gold star number 1 CO spouse
Ha.
was, and that was my first year, and she was the most amazing person. So I arrived as an ensign spouse, and she called me and was like, hey, we're having a spouses club meeting, I'll come pick you up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she was amazing. I love her. I still love her.
So dream sheets, and you're in the cycle again, and you're looking to transfer a year early off this tour.
Yes.
Oh,
I
dream
know.
sheet time.
Yeah.
So how many locations did you have available on the shopping list?
We had quite a few actually, because once you get into once you get to a certain rank, unfortunately, and this is not me pulling rank.
Watch it,
Once you
you're
get to
treading
a certain
treading a
rank,
line.
you come into like pre-command positions or command positions. So, like we are at a point where we are kind of like pre-command or command positions, and there was a lot of stuff in with John being out of flying for
Mm-hmm.
a while because he was down for reasons, but now he's trying to get back up to be able to fly really close to, and he can transition. It used to be if you were a 65 guy, you stayed a 65 guy,
Okay.
and if you were a 60 guy, you were a 60 guy, right?
Okay.
But now with the Coast Guard kind of trying to go away from 65s because they don't make that helicopter anymore.
I gotcha.
And so now they're kind of like the parts kind of go to the units that really need 65s, which there's a couple of different units that really need those helicopters more than a 60. And a 60 has, like, they've really upped the game on the 60. It's a great helicopter now.
Right.
And so, now it's an easy, now they don't mind if you're like, oh, I can transition. So now we have like Cape Cod is available where that
Oh,
was
wonderful.
never available before, and Astoria, and
It's refreshing to see new places on the list, isn't it?
it really is. Clearwater is now one that's on our list that may not have
Brilliant.
been. So, yeah, we put in our dream sheet. We have our top 3. Everything after that is like, we'll see what happens.
Right.
So,
Have you ever gotten something that wasn't on your dream sheet at all?
no,
Oh, that's happened to us twice.
I'm
Where
sorry.
where it was like, where did this location come from? This was not a thing.
And I think that goes to needs of the Coast Guard, right?
Right.
It's like your husband would be perfect for this spot. We need him to go there.
Right.
So,
Like, surprise.
yeah.
You're going
Will you
to
go
New
here?
York.
They ask, will you go here? But it's not really an ask.
No, it's not. No,
It's-
it's like oh, hey, guess what? And
Yeah.
we didn't find out until March.
Oh, that's late.
Oh, I know. We were, well, I say we. Mike was, this is the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Where everything is fine. Everything is normal. And I'm like, we're supposed to move in a couple of months, and where are we going? And then we found out it was New York, and I died internally.
Oh, yeah.
And I've told this story a few times, but not yet for our listeners. But I cried for 30 days straight when I heard we got New York. I thought, well, this is the end. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose one of my small children on a subway. The doors are going to close. I'm going to look back, and my smallest 4-year-old will be just standing there as the doors close, and the subway will pull away, and then what will happen to my baby? That's exactly, I thought we were all going to be raped, mugged, and killed at every time. And it ended up being an excellent tour.
Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to when you get one of those curveballs for the needs of the Coast Guard, where you're like, wait a second.
Yeah. And sometimes you get what you want, and it's not the best experience.
Right. I wonder if it's because you have an expectation that it's going to be fantastic because that's the first pick you wanted.
Maybe. I will say that we've had 2 different experiences with that. So, we put one pick that most people either love it or hate it. They either want to go or they go kicking and screaming.
Right.
We wanted to go. So it was number 1. They were like, yes, thank you for putting it down. Here
Yeah.
you go. It's yours. And it ended up being John's favorite. It's his favorite air station, or unit, I should say. 'Cause,
Brilliant.
I can't even think now. The mission is different.
Oh, okay.
It's a different mission. It's not a search and rescue.
Right.
And John loves it. And so yeah, we loved it so much we went back.
That's fantastic. That's very lucky.
Yeah, but we had another one where we got what we wanted, and it was horrible. And I have said before, I will never go back to Houston ever.
And ironically,
It's on our list. But I have said there are things about Houston that I did like.
right.
I have friends there, and it would be a different situation. The situation we were in when we went to Houston is very different than where we are right now.
Right.
So,
Well, and It's amazing what a few years, and I say a few years, but I mean several years, will do to a frame of mind.
Yeah.
So you have an experience in one location, and like we'll say Houston, for example, and you're like, never again, Coast Guard, never again.
Yeah.
And then cut to, so many years later, you're like, okay, I can pros and cons this out.
I can rationalize this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hang on one sec while we let that plane fly overhead. All right. Plane has moved on a little bit. We can carry on.
Yeah. But I don't know. We can absolutely rationalize.
Yes.
And play it out like, yes, think of the pros and cons, especially when it's somewhere you've already been.
Right.
It's a little harder when it's somewhere you've never been.
Right. Yeah. And the more time that we have in as spouses, it doesn't change the anxiety level of going to a new place.
It just gives us more people who have been there that we can contact.
That's true. And it gives us a little more perspective on maybe how we can rationalize a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So I think in the beginning, when it was when it was my first move, I was freaking out because we were moving from Southern California to Virginia. And while I love the East Coast, I did not know Virginia at all. I didn't know the Portsmouth area or the Chesapeake, Hampton Roads area. Where are we moving? I sent this poor real estate agent on a goose chase for the perfect house. And I did not know at the time that they're not allowed to tell you, like, about neighborhoods. So she's not allowed to say, hey, this might not be in the best sort of family nurturing neighborhood that you can find. So she had a phrase that she would say to me. She would say, Stephanie, are you looking for Norman Rockwell? And I would say, yes. And she would say, that's not this. And then I would know not to send her on goose chases in that zip code. But she ended up finding an amazing house for us, and we bought it sight unseen because she said, this is where you want to live. And thankfully she was amazing and guided us in the perfect direction.
Yeah.
But that's terrifying, moving to a new place, house hunting. I mean, there's 10,000 things to keep in mind, and that's on top of the anxiety of putting your kids in school. What are the schools like? Trusting the process.
Yeah. And what happens, because for us, we had been in the Coast Guard for 12 years before we had kids.
Ooh.
So when we did go to Jacksonville, we bought a house.
Right.
We didn't care what the schools were like.
Oh, true.
It didn't matter.
Right.
It was close to the air station. It was like a 15-minute drive for John to get to work every day.
That's perfect.
It's amazing. I was 5 minutes from Target, Publix, like everything. Chick-fil-A.
That's amazing.
McDonald's, like literally I never had to leave. I always called it my bubble.
I love that.
I never had to leave my bubble. Everything, my dentist is there.
Yeah.
Like I had to go for my doctor to go away, but so sometimes I would push myself. Like I got my hair cut outside of my bubble.
Oh.
So, but I would push myself sometimes to go outside of the bubble, but I didn't have to.
Yeah.
There was a Home Depot, right? I mean, there was everything right there. So you would die.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And, but we didn't care what the schools were. Well, then we had kids. And when we came back, we had kids. And all of a sudden, it's like the school is rated a D.
Oh, goodness.
And it got like 3 out of 10.
Oh, gosh.
So we're like, well, we cannot send our kids to this school.
Right.
So, yeah. Homeschool.
Yes. Well, and that's the dream sheet life, right? It's you never get what you hope to get. You always get something completely random and unexpected.
Yep.
And I think depending on the rating you're in, depends on what's even available to you. I've never seen, like Mike's rate, I have never seen more than 8 or 10, we'll say, maybe 10 locations that he has from which to pick.
And as he ranks up, too.
Well,
as he advances, it's harder.
Yeah, I mean, I know people, spouses, who have had 3 pages of locations to rank order, and I'm like, 3 pages?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with these 6. How do you figure out 3 pages?
Let's just randomize that.
Right. And it's still randomized. Whatever you get
I think the Coast
seems
Guard
random.
does it that way, too. Like, spin a wheel. They'll go there.
Exactly.
Take it off the wheel. Who's next?
Yep. Too funny. Well, this is definitely a trying time because you put in your dream sheet and now it's the waiting game. And this is I find this part to be the most anxious.
Right. And because we're not due to rotate, we are low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
So we may not even get to, they may even be like, sorry, all the positions are filled. You're going to stay where you are.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Which is fine. We do love Cape May.
It is beautiful here.
It is amazing. We have great friends. Our boys have amazing
Oh,
friends.
thanks.
And so it will be hard to leave if we do. So that's the other thing to consider is it worth going
Right?
if we do get something. And the detailer had even mentioned Kodiak. Like, if you put Kodiak, you may be going. Like,
Yeah, I think that's a very for real like concern for anybody who puts down Kodiak. Like,
I used to say never Kodiak, never
Yeah.
Kodiak, and then we were kind of like, well, the boys are older. There's a lot
Right.
of amazing things. The boys would love it, and then I think even you were concerned about because
the seasonal.
I do have a seasonal affective disorder, and I am a
Yes.
southern girl. I need the sunshine.
Yes.
I do not do well when it is cloudy.
I was worried about you.
Yeah, Traverse City was hard in that mentality, but I made friends and I got out.
Right.
So I learned in Traverse City kind of how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But so you were concerned, like Kodiak, that's like 6 months,
Yeah.
no sun, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably not gonna do well for me because you can't even really get out. Sometimes it's too cold to get
Yeah.
out.
Well, and these are things to think about as you're filling out your dream sheet,
And
right?
it's
Like,
an island. Like, you have to take a plane to go shopping anywhere besides Walmart.
right.
I would die.
Like,
I
if
would
you have
die,
two small
Stephanie.
kids, how do you get. I'm not saying you have two small kids.
Right.
I'm saying if someone had two small kids.
They say Amazon delivery is pretty good.
Well, I mean, yeah, but milk?
No, it's like $6 a gallon.
But baby formula? Like, how do you even.
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's being done. And
And
kudos to
people
all
love
of
it.
you folks who can do it.
Yeah, and there are people who travel the whole North states, like go from like Detroit, Traverse City, Port Angeles,
Yeah.
Kodiak, and then come back across. And
Yeah.
like they always stay within those areas. Like, and I just am like, no, I cannot. And I mean, Kodiak's an island. Like, no, I
Yeah.
can't. Because I always so feel the same way about Hawaii, right?
Sure.
And I think we do have Hawaii on our list this time. But even that, I'm kind of nervous about. I'm not going to lie. Those moves scare me.
Right.
Those overseas moves make me nervous. Put all your stuff in a crate
And then just hope.
and hope it doesn't fall. I see the videos of the cargo ships
those
where
huge-
the cargo ships
Yes,
are
and they all
falling.
topple over.
Yes, and I'm just like, that would be my stuff.
Yeah, well, that is my fate for sure.
Yeah.
That would be our stuff.
It's like, bye, couch over the side. Some fish will be enjoying it.
That's right. Yeah, that's it's funny to think about the mindset that we have to go into this with. And people with children who have special needs have a whole other mindset to go into it with.
Right, but luckily they have the program that helps them
Right.
kind of navigate that a little bit better and helps them figure out if things are available
Right.
where they want to go. But I cannot imagine like adding that whole extra layer of trying to figure out special needs or special doctors, special
Yeah.
programs, all of that on
It takes
top of
a whole level of parenting and adulting that is, I'm just in awe of people who can
Right.
do all that. Incredible.
yes. And I hope those people get their get their dream sheets.
Right? I hope they get their first pick, and I hope that that first pick is everything they hope it to be.
Yes.
Because that is sad when you get your first. Well, I'm assuming, because we have never gotten our first pick.
One day you could always go to Bahrain.
Well, that's true. That's true, and that's something that Mike has tossed up a couple of times. Is he has, I think, 2 tours left after this. That puts him past 30 if they're still allowing people to be in that long, and if he does his second to last tour in Bahrain, that puts his last tour wherever he wants it to be.
Yeah.
So
number one.
he may do that. The kids are old enough that we could function without him. Yeah, we'd miss him. But I also know that Brennan is now able to handle plumbing if I need it helped, or he can fix a thing and reach the high shelves and do
Yeah.
all that stuff. So Bahrain, in the beginning, I would say was a scary option, but now it's very reasonable. And it's funny how over time as a military spouse, how our perspective changes on these locations, right? Like 10 years ago, I thought, never Bahrain, Michael, never.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, hey, if it gets you your last place in your Twilight tour,
Yeah.
by all means, buddy, go do a hard thing
Exactly.
for a year, and we'll hold down the fort. We'll do the things.
Yeah. I think like sometimes I consider, can the boys handle is it a crucial time for the boys to be without John?
Right.
And, John and I have talked about it, and I'm like, he's like, I really feel like I need to retire. The boys are getting older, and, they kind of, and we're kind of getting to that where it switches a little bit, where mom doesn't need to, it's more dad needs to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, I can handle this. Whatever you need to do, I've got it.
Right.
I can handle it. I can do whatever's needed to do until I need to do it. So go whatever you want to do.
Right.
So, because, we're also at the point where retirement is in the picture.
Right.
So it's kind of...
So many options.
It's so many options. And honestly, it's overwhelming to think about. You have so many options. And I don't know about Mike, but John... worries about it nonstop. Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What if this happens? What if this happens? And at this point, I just have a new, favorite phrase is that I do not have enough information to panic about that yet.
Yes. Oh, so good.
It's such a good one, and I use it all the time now.
Yes.
And I'm at the point where I just don't have enough information to panic yet.
That is a military spouse mantra we all need to adopt for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Until they say, you're going here, there's no reason for me to panic and start figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the Coast Guard do their thing, figure out their needs, because we all know the needs of the Coast Guard come first.
Right.
And then we'll take care of the rest of it.
So, and this is, I'm glad you said that. This is something that I wish we would see more of, that when we get a location that we're panicking about, and then we go on social media and we say, oh my gosh, New York, can you believe it? I'm so upset. I'm so worried. I'm so scared. I'm so all of these negative things. You're going to attract the negative responses back. Yeah, New York is awful. Can you believe all the crime, subways, what? You're going to get lost. Things are going to be insane. Oh my God, the schools, New Yorkers. But what you're putting out is what you're getting back. If you put out positive, hopeful messages like, you know what, I'm terrified to walk into this new adventure, but I'm doing it with an open mind, you're going to get a whole bunch of positive, open-minded things back. Like, you know what, I've never seen a community that bands together more than New Yorkers.
Yeah.
I knew without a shred of a doubt that if I screamed help in the middle of a New York street, I would have 300 New Yorkers at my aid in a millisecond. There's something about that is comforting, reassuring, hopeful about the future.
Right.
And so when you get your dream sheet and you are starting to social media your thoughts about it, think about what it is you're putting out, because that'll be what it is that you get back from it.
And you can always find one good thing, right?
Right.
I can tell you there's a handful of great things about Houston, tamales being one of them.
That excites me in a way that shouldn't.
You can just drive down the road and there's a truck on the side of the road with homemade tamales that someone's grandmother has made in her kitchen.
You're speaking my language.
That is the best tamales that you have ever eaten. And
yes.
you can buy a dozen for nothing.
Yes.
And you're like, oh yes. And then there's a chain restaurant in Houston called Taco Cabana that Taco Bell who? It's
right.
Taco what? But Taco Cabana is
the taco.
The shit. It's the best. And then, Chewy's. I mean, of course.
Well, of course.
I want to bathe in their jalapeno sauce. It's
right.
So good. And
I love that it's all food, Julie.
It is all food.
It's my heart song.
It is. They do have an amazing mall in one area, and they were building an IKEA when we left.
Oh.
Of course they're going to build an IKEA.
Well, if you go back, you'll have the benefits of an IKEA.
Exactly. So, and like I said, I did I have friends there still. So, but yeah. So it's all food.
That's part of my entire Google Maps is 99% food that I have eaten at or want to try someday.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings us to wrapping up this episode. We would like to hear from you. What places have you put on your dream sheet? And did you get what you wanted? And was it a blessing or a curse?
Yes. That's a good one.
Hey, thanks for taking a moment with us, the Mommandants. You can find us on our website at momandantmoments.com.
We also have social media, so you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, all with Mama Dance moments.